Good morning. This is Professor Anderson with a little bit of feedback for your writing assignment number 4, rough draft. I want to share with you, there's a couple things that I'm doing here. I'm pulling up, this is the PDF of the assignment page. It gives you the list of all of the items that needed to be covered and included inside of here. So I call this the nuts and bolts. And then I do a second, so I go through the paper first and make sure that all of these components are included. And then I go through the paper again after I've cut and pasted it into my Google Docs, and I use what's called Grammarly. So you can quickly see also some of these grammar elements, the nitty gritty that I call them, that need to be perhaps reviewed. So the first thing I want to do is I'm taking a look at these components: title page, letter to a decision maker, executive summary, table of contents, making certain that all of those items are there. So here's a memo. We'll talk about that in just a moment. And a title page, table of contents, executive summary, into the body of the report, purpose, scope, sources and methods, and conclusions and recommendations. Okay, so you do have all the components. Let's take a look at some of the nitty gritty of how what things that we might need to tighten up a bit. So first thing that I take a note of is your letter to a decision maker. So you need to follow the template for a memo. It does need to have that same format, to from. It is not to from, date, and then with respect to the RE. And you want to make sure that that says, is very short and to the point, but using complete sentences. Let's take a look at this first sentence. For the enclosures of the report, improving the management by hiring more regular time, full-time positions for the request of the following proposal memo I have submitted this past week. One, check out your sentence structure. This is not a complete sentence, and perhaps it would be better to say, enclosed, please find the report, improving management by hiring more regular part-time, full-time employee positions, which is the result of the research I requested, a result of the investigation I requested in the memo dated XY, whatever the date was. The report analyzes the management at the exchange on Camp Zama, and recommends suggestions for improving employee, sustainability. Thank you in advance for your time and consideration. Make sure to avoid these statements like, I hope you find it useful. I look forward to hearing from you, because the reality is, more often than not, the true decision makers are way up the food chain, and this report will, if they choose to submit or investigate further or work towards implementation, it will be farmed out to a committee and a subcommittee and a subcommittee of the subcommittee. So the individual decision maker, the one who really has the power to do that, is not going to call you back. So you just want to make sure that you're offering your insight into the situation. So you need to tighten up this letter of transmittal a little bit. With respect to your title page, I would parse down. I would think of maybe a little shorter title page: improving management at AAFES, period, or the impact of part-time, full-time positions, full-time, part-time positions, period. So this is a pretty long title, and you want to make sure in title pages you have the nouns are capitalized. So this would be capital, improving the, not capital, management, capital, hiring, capital, more, capital, regular, capital, part-time, capital, full-time. So you want to make sure that you're following that. As I go through your paper, you'll notice these red lines under it. That's because I use this product called Grammarly. I have it attached to my computer. It's just an app that automatically comes up in any of my writing files, and it points out grammar and spelling mistakes. So here, one of the little things, you need to have AAFES, so you would want to change that. And what I like about Grammarly is I can hover and it explains and tells me why. So when I get down here, I see lots of red lines that I'm going to share with you. You'll be able to upload this if you'd like. One of the things that I pointed out in your letter transmittal is this lack of a complete sentence, and that's kind of a theme running through your paper. So what I recommend you do is go back through, comb through, and read it. Have someone else read for you. You want to write clear, concrete, and concise sentences. Use short, simple sentence structures because that will help you to identify when you have a complete sentence and when you have only fragments. You have quite a few spelling errors. This one is company, and this one should be less than 3 months. So those are just quick typos, but they're rampant. There are many throughout the paper. So you want to make sure that you correct those. I want to show you this other type of, where was this? It was in, it's in the beginning. In the world of management, managing a managing company or the managing company, this is where it was, has the challenge of trying to succeed in the financial targets while creating the best organizational structure, period. Employees and managers are clear about this creates an atmosphere of employee labor division, of everyone understanding their roles and responsibilities. So again, yeah, there's quite a few grammar issues, and I would recommend installing Grammarly because it will help you comb through and see where these are. It would be quite a while. So let's just take a look at going through the organization of the paper and the other things that I would recommend. So while you have here the purpose of this study, you have given the scope. Make sure that these are not capitalized. You want to make sure that here on the scope of the study, it really, instead of, here's where you say, I conducted secondary research and I conducted primary research. The primary research includes this, where you did your studies. So the sources and methods, the primary consulted with co-workers and their backgrounds. You want to remove these first person, you want to take out the I. So instead, interviews were conducted with co-workers to establish the background and learn more about the working history of AAFES. So you want to, again, you just want to make sure that you keep it as third person as possible. And then you want to think about position. Initially, what you did first was your secondary research. Your secondary research was the scholarly articles that you did in your that you reviewed in your synthesis of literature review. So you want to have that first, and then your scholarly articles are what you want to enumerate. That's where this information, you want to share the information. What were your findings from that secondary resource? And then your primary research, and you want to show what your primary research was. My doc organizer is not uploading your images, so I'm going to go back here quickly and see what these, yeah, it's not showing it here either. I need to pull it up in your original form. So sometimes images don't translate, and I have to cut and paste the paper into a host of different formats. Let me just see where these are. Oh, good. So it's awesome to use a graphic. That does help quite a lot. But what you want to make sure that you're doing is, first, you want to talk about the scope of the study. What did you do first? The first thing you did was secondary research. What did you do second? Then you did primary research. And then you want to talk about the findings. So that might be your second subheading, is first the scope, and then second the findings. And that's where you want your chart. You want your secondary, you want to put the secondary first and discuss what you learned from those sources. In your conclusion, you need to put your recommendations. Put your recommendations first, and I like how you've enumerated them. Make sure that these follow in the same number. And then conclude. Your conclusion wraps up, this is why these, we've investigated this from a secondary perspective of scholarly research, and the findings showed X. We looked at our individual employees, and the findings showed Y. And this is what the conclusion is. So I look forward to reading your final copy. Okay, let me